logistics agreement in the news with UK. India has been under a bilateral logistic agreement with Russia and UK. So RELOS is a reciprocal exchange of logistics agreement with Russia, and that agreements provided that India can exchange any kind of military equipments, weapons, choppers, missile, fighters, jets, any kind of technologies directly with another country who is a mutual partner, that is part of Russia. And RELOS means to be a reciprocal arrangement by which any kind of military logistics can be transported on other ports, bases, military installation are also allowed. So what are military logistic agreement? These administrations, replacement of fuel, rations, spare parts, handbill, breathing and maintenance of each other warship, military aircraft and troops during the port visits, and joint exercises on the reciprocal basis, essentially simplifying the process of extending logistic support on each other. Now there is theater command to report the Chief of Defence Staff. Chief of Defence Staff is a 5-star post created by this government in order to have a single advisory position for the issuing of orders to directly to the central government secretariat and Ministry of Defence. All the airport heads such as Air Force officer, Army head and Navy head will together report to the Chief of Defence Staff, and they will look at the integrated theater command. Okay. Integrated Theatre Command seeks to integrate capabilities of the three services, Army, Air Force and Navy. An integrated threat command has been created in order to look into various operations under the Kargil War Review of D.B. Shekatkar Committee. Very important. Which committee, friends? D.B. Shekatkar Committee. Okay, and 17 single service commands that currently exist in India. How many command centers? 17 command centers. Next part is Helena, that is helicopter loaded Nag. Helena, helicopter loaded Nag. Nag is a anti-tank guided missile system. So ये कैसे होता है? When there is a suppose there is a chopper and there is a flight, so when there is an attack by any kind of enemy article, so that weapon is loaded inside the chopper and that missile is called as Helena. Helena missile से कहते हैं. That is fire on the target, which is in terms of tanks or any kind of weaponry. उसके ऊपर ये डायरेक्टली GPS डिवाइस के द्वारा फायर किया जाता है फ्रेंड्स, and that goes to again directly hitting the target and destroying the target at the moment it is fired. Now Indian Army has also introduced next version of Helena, that is ध्रुवास्त्र. भारत की आर्मी ने हेलिना का एक नया वर्जन लॉन्च किया है मित्रों, जिसे हम ध्रुवास्त्र कहते हैं. ध्रुवास्त्र एक ऐसा सिस्टम है दैट वर्क सिमिलरली ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ हेलिना एंड इट इज़ अगेन फायर्ड विद द ग्राउंड एज वेल एज स्काई. इसका क्या खासियत है? इट कैन बी फायर्ड फ्रॉम ग्राउंड बेस एज वेल एज द स्काई. तो आसमान से भी इसे छोड़ा जा सकता है और ज़मीन से भी इसे छोड़ा जा सकता है. What are the features of Indian Air Force? That aims for increasing the capability from 500 meters to maximum of 7 kilometer range. 500 मीटर से लेके 7 किलोमीटर तक के रेंज के लक्ष्य को ये टारगेट कर सकता है. And it again goes for highly capable exercise services. Now what are the military exercises that makes the news? Is first a JAPAD exercise. It is one of the theater level exercise of Russian armed forces that help to primary operation of terrorists. India also have one of the participating countries. Second exercise is so JAPAD, Indian Army and Russia. JAPAD, SIMBAX, Singapore and India naval exercise. In the South China Sea, again look into the zone of contention, that we are again targeting South China Sea at sea level only, exercise without any physical interactions due to COVID-19 pandemic. Initiated in 1994, SIMBAX is the Indian Navy's longest uninterrupted bilateral military exercise done with the Singapore. Next is exercise Surya Kiran. Surya Kiran is done by Indian Army and Nepalese Army. India and Nepal. Surya Kiran exercise. Then Ausindex is a biennial maritime warfare exercise under Royal Australian Navy and Indian Navy and Indian Navy. Then next exercise goes for Samudra Shakti, which is a bilateral exercise between India and SCO members. Then SCO exercises of peaceful mission started on Orenburg region of southwest Russia. Remember this region, Orenburg region in Russia. This is Orenburg region in Russia. Next exercise is the SCO members of Russia, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, India, Pakistan and Uzbekistan. Now, important news goes for the environment, that is for Antarctica. Why it was in news? Antarctica is a region which is again ecologically and environmentally sustainable. It covers the whole region with the ice sheath, and there is covering of ice sheath by the region. That is again a part of Antarctica, and there is a wedded East Antarctica and wedded sea, then marine protected areas of Antarctica. Now, what is the factor in the news? That Antarctica region covers many kind of species in richness and which are needed for the development of Commission on the Conservation of Antarctic Marine and Living Resources associated with marine protected areas in the future, designating East Antarctica and the wedded sea as MPA are essential to regulate illegal, unprotected and unregulated fishing. IUUF. This is the challenge in the Antarctica region, that there is so much kind of fishing in the area that people goes for uninterrupted continuous fishing activities. Then MPA provides protection for all or part of its natural resources. Certain activities with MPA are limited or prohibited to meet specific conservation, habitat protection, ecosystem monitoring or fisheries management objectives. CCMLR is a part of aim of conservation marine life, came into force in 1982 as a part of Antarctic Treaty System, and which is the heart of Antarctic Treaty in 1959. 1959 में Antarctic Treaty के द्वारा इसे शामिल किया गया. Conservation of maritime life, remember. Now, it is international treaty to manage Antarctic fisheries and preserve the species diversity and stability of entire Arctic system. That is very, very important. Next part is marine protected area. So, marine protected area is essentially a space in the ocean where human activity are strictly regulated than the surrounding waters, similar parts on the land, and these are protection of natural historical marine resources by local, state, territorial, native, regional, national authorities. Marine protected areas and their network offer natural based solution to support global efforts towards climate change adoption and mitigation. World Database on Protected Area report only 7.65% of global seas has been covered, and so far there are Convention of Biological Diversity to protect the Aichi target 11. So there are Aichi target in which there are various goals from 1 to 10 to 11, in which various species and organisms are provided in order to protect them from their degradation and extinction. So we see that there is IUCN list of vulnerable species and endangered and extinct species. Similarly, that provides Aichi target, in which 10% of the MPA at IUCN World Parks Congress, at least 30% to take MPA coverage worldwide. Remember this fact for your prelims and mains point of view. So Antarctica is very important. For what purpose? That it has a vital food chain and it creates a structure of the So we see that why Antarctica is important. Antarctica is important because of many reasons. So there is ocean food chain, nutrient rich water, causes blooms of tiny planktons. Antarctica is rich for the sun rays, keeping temperature livable, and Antarctica is rich in biodiversity support. It has huge dolphins and penguins. तो आप देखते हो कि अंटार्कटिका में बहुत सारी पेंगुइन्स देखने को मिलती हैं. देन देर आर डॉल्फिन्स ऑल्सो. So these are all part of Antarctica, a natural laboratory helping US to tackle the climate changes and track the changes in the environment and climate changes in Antarctica. Then there are recreational value of vast, remote, beautiful beyond imagination. Now, Madrid Protocol was there in order to protect Antarctica. It is prioritization of Antarctica as wilderness for aesthetic and scientific value. All member nations should be prepared for emergency response of the area. Waste from activities to be removed. Some harmful materials are banned and completely prohibited. Then wildlife cannot be taken in a harmful action. Waste management plans are required to protect and remove waste from the Antarctica. Then Antarctica is provided with the environmental impact assessment including tourism. No minimizing for Antarctica is being done. Discharge of waste from ships is regulated under Madrid Protocol, and areas designing especially for the places to be protected under this Madrid Protocol. Remember this fact. Now, India's endeavor in the Antarctica. India has created Himadri and Dakshin Gangotri. So, research stations such as Maitri at Sachimanar Hills, Bharati at Larseman Hills. Dakshin Gangotri is also a part of the Antarctica station at 1984. We see that various parts of treaties in order to protect Antarctica was also created, and there was Protocol on Environment Protection at Antarctica Treaty which was significant in controlling the environment pollution and climate change issues in the Antarctica region. Further, we see that program of Council of Managers on National Antarctica Program, Scientific Committee of Antarctica Research Commission and Commission for Conservation of Antarctica Marine Living Resources was created. Then there was Antarctica in terms of its budget inclusion for the Ministry of Earth Sciences under relevant head which guide the various kind of Antarctica challenges. Then India Antarctica Bill 2021, which is recently passed in the Lok Sabha, that aims to protect and conserve the Antarctica system. Then it protects the Antarctica environment and associated issues in terms of research, development, climate change mechanism, environment protection and conserving the Antarctica ice sheath as a major part. Further, it provides regulatory framework for Indian Antarctica activities at the Antarctica Research Center. Now, climate action plan for the coastal cities. So, what are the coastal cities, friends? We see in the map of India that cities from Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Mangaluru, all major cities located at the coastal areas. So, coastal areas are needed to be protected in order to cater the climate change issues, and they are also needed to be protected in order to provide various kind of securities from droughts and typhoons, cyclones and so called atmospheric activities. Now, there is a BMC, that is the Brihan Mumbai Corporation, which has drafted the Mumbai Climate Action Plan in order to protect the climate challenges and activities of the environment pollution near the Mumbai coast. So, what is the climate action plan? It is a measure to improving planning and reducing the environmental threats, pollutants and overall threats to the environment that are part of the climate action initiative. Further, friends, we see that climate action plan is also helping to recover from negative outcome of the climate changes and also protecting the environment from greenhouse gases. So, it also helps and makes the target for the people to reduce the greenhouse gases. It also makes the people to reduce the non-fossil fuels uses. It also helps us to empower the situation in order to mitigate the climate change scenarios. Now, what is the next news? What is the process of climate action? So, the process goes for establishing a vision for climate change mitigation and adaptation. So, there is a cities in which there are climate change mitigation, adaptation and other kind of programs are launched. Then secure political commitments to achieve their vision. So, what is the political commitment that are part of the vision? And by making policies and including the bodies that are inside the system to follow those policies in order to cater the climate changes issues. Then measures to develop the communication system should be provided and engaged during the planning stage to reach the plan as well as the subsequent implementation of the plant as well. Next part goes for the multi-stakeholder cross-sectoral support and helping the people to reinvigorate the administrative reforms as well as the challenges that are catered under the climate change protocol. Next part is identify and prioritizing the actions which are to be taken. So, it aims to take the actions which are subsequently needed and on the priority basis what can be taken first, second and third. In this priority basis they are made to cater the environmental challenges. Next is the development plan for the implementation. So, there are certain plans that are under construction of beaches, then roads under the sea area and under near the beach area is also action plan to be implemented by the Brihan Mumbai Corporation. Further, we see climate change issues. So, what are the issues leading to the weather events? Climate variability, erratic rainfall and prolonged dry spells, dry monsoon, no rainfall. So, these are the challenges under the government eyes which are to be catered. So, what should be done? Reduction of production, further increased prices reduced income, increased incidences of diseases, reduced quality and quantity of food, increased disruption. It leads to availability, access of goods, utilization of nutrition and stability. Remember this fact for your prelims as well as mains point of view. And lastly, to cater the need of food security. Now, what are the biological hazards? Many kind of hazards which we see that threat the environment and cause environmental damage, pollution and uncertainty to the environment productivity. That hazard that are leading to the damage of the coastal areas, leading to higher temperature, diseases and condition of prolonged coastal affection of disproportionate mosquitoes, rodents and rise of animals that carry vector-borne diseases are biological hazard. To prevent this kind of destruction of life on the water and above the surface, communities are also planning through government mechanism. Now, natural disasters are also being controlled by the government of India by various mechanisms that also needs to cater the challenges in the government framework. We are also having government initiative towards climate action plan. In 2009, India directly all states government to prepare state action plan for tackling the climate changes, that is SAPCC. Then there is a national action plan on climate change, NAPCC. Then Odisha climate change action plan, OACP and SAPCC. Now Mumbai also take Mumbai climate action plan by Brihan Mumbai Corporation to bring a climate resilient and strengthen cities. Gujarat climate action plan also to rebuild and sustainable cities model. Remember this fact for your prelims and mains. And National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management. What is National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management? Under Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Climate Change, there has been a method in order to cater the environmental challenges and look into the global warming scenario. So, cities which are under the threats and which are having huge pollution problems are catered through the National Center for Sustainable Coastal Development. Then there is National Coastal Mission. In 2019, Ministry of Environment launched National Coastal Mission to develop marine ecosystem infrastructure and communities of the coastal areas in order to protect the ICZM, that is International Coastal Zone Management, and it is a dynamic multidisciplinary iterative process which aims for sustainable management of coastal zones. Despite these efforts, coastal cities remain highly vulnerable to the climate change. Further proper implementation of funding support leads to climate action plan. Guideline principle for coastal cities. Action planning, it aims to reduce greenhouse gases and reduction of the fossil fuel generation, reduction in the petrol vehicles, reduction in the coastal areas and production of climate resilient model, adoption of climate protective cities and climate based infrastructure module. These are all parts of the climate resilient infrastructure. Remember this all for your prelims and mains point of view.